we could be of help to you. And also, please keep in mind that e-certificates will be issued to all the participants in the Zoom platform upon successful submission of a Google form link, which will be shared in the chat box during the session, towards the end of the session. So that's it. So we'll begin our webinar series. The first talk of the webinar series is by Samish Menon on the topic Trends and Careers in Pharmaceutical Sales and Marketing. This session is chaired by Mr. Harry Jose. Mr. Harry Jose is a Associate Vice President and Global Head of Marketing at Syngene, Bangalore, one of the leading global contract discovery and development and manufacturing organizations in the pharmaceutical and biotechnology space. He is an alumnus of COPS Trivandrum. After graduating B.Pharm from COPS in 1999, he did MBA in marketing from the prestigious Nirma Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Mr. Harry has close to 20 years of service experience in marketing, spanning multiple industries. In his current role, Harry has the opportunity to regularly interact with senior leaders in pharma organizations, industry forums, and academia, and uses these interactions to keep himself abreast of the latest developments in pharma and biotech. We are really happy to have you, Harry, with us today evening. Over to you, Harry.
Thanks a lot, Ranjish. Before we start, thank you. Samish, maybe you can just share your screen as well as your presentation while I start off. Wow, over 400 participants for this program across 3 channels and people joining in from 4 different continents. So it's a good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all of us, all of you who are joining in from Australia, parts of Europe, parts of US, and of course, India. It gives all of us at COPS Global, all the people who have worked on this for the past few weeks, a lot of joy to see that so many of you are interested in such a webinar series. Samish has already put up his screen and his deck, which he will take us through. But before we just go there, I do know that most of the participants in this program are either in their 3rd year or 4th year B.Pharm or doing their PG. So as a kind of a introduction to this series, let me start by asking you a question. How many of you have visited Lulu Mall in Edapalli, Kochi? I know it's a rhetorical question. I'm sure all of us have been to Lulu Mall. If not Lulu Mall, some other mall of that size, right? Do you remember the first time that you went to a mall like Lulu Mall? You get lost over there, right? You go to one floor and before you know, you're surrounded by so many shops and you don't really know where you need to go. What helps you at that point in time is a small board, which is there at the center of each floor, which has in big letters these words, "You are here." So when you look at that board, you can see all the shops next to where you're standing. And if you know where you need to go, you know how much time it will take you to reach there. I'm sure you understood the analogy. The program, this webinar series that we are doing is designed to do exactly that. ഒരു 20-25 കൊല്ലം മുമ്പ് ഈ കോപ്സ് ഗ്ലോബലിലുള്ള ഞങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാം ഫാർമയിൽ നിന്ന് പാസ് ഔട്ടായി B.Pharm and M.Pharm ചെയ്ത് we were kind of wondering what next to do in our lives. So over these last 20-25 years, we have reached some positions in different industries and different forums and all. The accumulated experience that we have gained and our experience in going through some hardships in reaching where we are today is what has helped us to design these series. So we sincerely hope that you keep asking us questions so that we can share some of the pitfalls that may be in your way as you decide and as you go forward in your career in pharma. Without any further ado, let me just lead on to the star of the day, my very close friend and my senior from Corps, Samish. Samish, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Harry. I think no one can start this session like you did. Wonderful job. I completely agree to the analogy which you mentioned, and I enjoyed listening to it. Thank you, Harry. Thank you so much. I hope all of us understands that it's kind of a guiding pole. That's what we want to build here. Anyway, before I start, my regards and respects to all the teachers, Chandrasekhar sir, Sudhakaran sir, and Rajshri madam. It's great to see you and listen to you after, you won't believe, around 25 years. കേട്ടതിൽ വളരെ സന്തോഷം. കണ്ടതിലും ഇങ്ങനെയൊരു പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോമിലാണെങ്കിലും usually when we are about to start a session like this, the speaker will be filled with what kind of a structure you have got in front, what's the main points which you want to do, but that's not the case today. മുഴുവൻ ഫാർമസി കോളേജിലെ കാര്യങ്ങളും നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെയാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ മനസ്സിലേക്ക് വരുന്നത്. Anyway, that's a great feeling to be in. And Harry, thanks for the intro, and I think we should jump into the one. Thanks everyone for all the support and what we could do, what we as a great initiative today here. So before
Samish, I think you should introduce yourself. I didn't do that only because nobody can introduce yourself like you yourself can.
Sure, no worries. This is me. My name is Samish Menon. I passed out from COPS Trivandrum in '97. I started my career almost within 15 days as a sales rep in Johnson & Johnson back in 1997. Then after about 6 years or so, I did my MBA from Hyderabad. Most of the lion's share of my career has been with regional and global marketing roles across different disease areas, as you see on the screen, and across different companies. That has really given me some exposure into how different types of companies work, how different geographies work, and it's based on some of those learnings is what we thought today we can share with you. Like, I completely go back to what Harry mentioned, when if you picture me 25 years before, like most of us in this session, I did a stint in sales in 1997, not because I planned it. People like Sunil Kumar Oji on the call will remember that after our final year exams and the results, we were sitting in the reading room in hostel number 3 in Trivandrum. That's when in the newspaper, Oji or Joshi, one of them spotted a advertisement for sales rep, and they told like, you should apply. Exactly. Believe me, that's how I got into sales and marketing, which is height of no planning, but maybe that's what destiny kept, and that's what friends are for. But today, actually, it is like, along with your friends and destiny, what we want to do is show you some possible ways so that you can plan something. Definitely, we cannot plan everything, but at least have an idea where we go. Before going into, please feel free to check out my LinkedIn profile. It's not to just show off myself, but that's a great platform to network. If you are not part of it, especially the budding graduates and students now, fresh graduates, log in, have an account in LinkedIn, it's free. Reach out to the alumni across. There's quite a lot to learn. It's a no-nonsense, ultimate professional kind of a platform if you don't know. If you know, sorry about that. So moving forward, this is what we, just as a disclaimer, whatever I show today, whatever I speak to you today, it's all my perspective and has got no connection with any of the organizations I worked. Also, my current organization where I work, Takeda Pharmaceuticals, or its affiliates or employees. Today, what we want to do is give you a very high overview of what is global and Indian pharma, what happens in sales and marketing, what are the key trends there, more importantly, what career possibilities it throws at you. And finally, we will close with some of the key takeaways from today. And possibly I'm planning to share with you what could be some of the next steps which you can look for. Definitely, it wouldn't look nice if I'm going to bore you to death in the next 30, 40, 45 minutes. I've given that commitment to the office bearers as well. So somehow they have managed to do a live chat possibility in this. So feel free if you have a question, if you have a comment, put it across on the chat. And it's not only for students, but I'm also saying there are other sales and marketing professionals in my batch or other batches.
Jan sir, can you mute?
In the other batches. So if there are experts in the line, if you want to answer something, if you have a suggestion, please put it in the chat. Harry can collect it so that it's not just coming from my side and it's a collective effort. Okay, moving forward to just check on the chat. You all have the chat facility. Let's try to do a small exercise, a fun exercise. Oops, I got something, yeah. So this is a question, if you can just try to answer in 2 words in your chat. So get ready, understand where your chat box is, get your keyboards ready. What is your key objective of attending the session today? Remember, 2 words. If you can put 2 words in the chat, Harry, it would be great if you could have a look at the chat. If you can tell me what are those high level things which are coming, what kind of thinking people have. It's about 300 plus votes, putting in around 1.5 to 2 hours. You know, that's a significant time investment we are doing. So better we have an objective of why we are doing this. Time pass is not an answer accepted. I hope it's not there. But how about you, Harry? Are there anything coming in?
Yeah, Samish, quite a lot of chats are coming in. Mostly it is all around career perspective, what next, how do I move forward, what is my career, future trends.
Amazing.
All of those.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I think that's all what we wanted. This is great. We know where the chat is. We know how it's working. Harry can see it. I can listen to it. Fantastic. So one more thing, it looks like we are on the same page, because the whole idea about before putting this together was how can we help you in terms to plan, So the key point or the key topic which we heard from Harry is also is like, you want to know how do we plan going ahead? It's important. Planning is important. With that, let me start with a small story. There were about 4 guys sitting in a room, 4 students. Tomorrow is an exam. So they thought of, let's put together our brains, let's study. As usual, they couldn't. They talked everything, they discussed everything except for what they want to study. Usual things happen. It became night around 2 o'clock. They thought like, this is not going to fly. What are we going to do for tomorrow? One of them thought, I have a plan. Let's tell the dean tomorrow that we had to go out yesterday for combined study. Our tire got punctured of the car and we couldn't reach back, so we couldn't study. So the other one told, let's also put some more credibility to it. Let's put some grease, let's put some dirt on top of us so that it looks like we were pushing the car the whole night. Next day they went to the dean, and Dean saw that they were all covered in dirt, and they told the story. Dean told, that's fine. I understand you. I will make the exam after 2 days. You can study and come. After 2 days, they came, they were happy, all prepared. So the dean told, let's go to 4 different rooms, because this is a different kind of an exam. And he gave the question paper to all 4. And this was the question paper, So planning is good. Planning is sometimes saves you, but it needs to be good enough. Otherwise, it can backfire you. So we are almost in that situation of where we want to plan. I just wanted to highlight that it's important. You are in the right direction. So let's go ahead. Let's march forward. Going back to the there are some notations on the screen coming up. I think it's coming from different people's mouses. So maybe you want to ensure that your mouse is not doing a marker stuff on the screen. Anyway, let's start with our topic today. The first one, after each sections, I will also put across a takeaway slide so that you will get a gist. So if you find it tough to do taking notes, that's fine. I'm also showing a takeaway slide after everything. Overview of global pharma. When you look into global pharma, when I say that, it's about all the sales or revenue coming from different companies, different pharmaceutical companies across the world. Okay. So when you see that's a graph, 2001, it was like $390 billion globally, pharmaceuticals was making. It grew. You can see in 2022, it's roughly 1.26 or 1.3 trillion dollars. And you see also there's something called CAGR, which is like the growth compounded to a set of years. So $10 becoming $15 is 50% growth, right? So like that, if you take about, in this case, I think they have taken 5 years growth. So 5 years compounded growth is roughly around 3%. If you extrapolate that 3%, it's forecasted that in 2023, down the line 2.5 years, the industry will be $1.5 trillion, which is phenomenal. But to all of us, what is 1.5 trillion? Does that make any sense? Does it look like an elephant or like a giraffe? So 1.5 trillion is about half of India's GDP. Okay, so that gives you a rough idea how big the industry we are in. And when you take into pharmaceuticals in the US, this is one of the top 10 industries in terms of sales as well as in terms of profits. And in profits, when it comes, it's the top 5 companies. So from a commercial point, when you want to look at how strong an industry is, you have a sustainable growth. You don't see much of a years where the revenue is going down. You have a sustainable growth, and it's highly profitable. That it's one of the top 5 industries in the world. So amazing place to be, right? So what does this?
Samish, can you tell? Can you unmute Chandran sir? Now you are the host.
Oh, I'm the host.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you please unmute. Yeah, you mute Chandran sir. Mute Chandran sir. Gayatri also, please.
Yeah, if people can mute.
Please mute yourself. Unmute all. Hello, sorry. Mute all. Okay. Thank you. Okay, continue. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. So what's in store for global pharma is like when you move on, this is how a geographically split it is. So you can see the bigger share is from United States, around 41%, followed by, you can also see EU5, the top 5 countries in Europe, Japan. The percentage, what you see there is the percentage of percentage of the revenue towards the 1.5 trillion what you saw. This is the percentage split of the revenue coming from. What I want to drive home in this slide is you also see something down there in pink color called PE, which is the far emerging markets, which is a name termed by one of those consulting companies called IQVIA, goes to IMS, IQVIA. So far emerging is actually driven by those big markets like Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Those are the big driving markets in far emerging. So bottom line is, when you look into global pharma, the key drivers are United States because of its size, and then emerging markets or far emerging markets because of its growth, because there the growth is much, much faster. So, and definitely keep in mind, India is one of the key players in the emerging market segment. So we are in a great industry. We are also in one of the growing geographies, which is a driving force of the industry. Fine. Let's now get into, we have been talking about India. So what is Indian pharma story? The graph that you see here, the gray color, gray portion is the domestic business, which when we go out and buy a Calpol from the normal retail store, that goes like a domestic sales. And the yellow part on the top, what you see are all those exports which Indian companies do. For example, the generic products in the US and Europe, it's predominantly coming from India. So all that exports. And it's great to see that it's almost equal split. When we talk about $42 billion or 3 lakh crores, that's our yearly revenue in Indian pharma, which has grown again, like the global story, what you showed. It's exactly the same, but much steeper. So the growth year after year is much more in the Indian industry, as you see here, you know. So, and also the industry employs something like 3 million people in India, really on the formulations, R&D on this high scale. And when you have this much a split of exports, that also contributes to our foreign exchange and a huge economic growth for India. So industry is great, it's performing well, it's employing quite a lot of people in a country like India, and it's also contributing quite a lot in terms of foreign exchange through exports. Keep in mind, when you think about India industry, Indian pharma, it's 50-50, half is domestic sales, half is export. So we depend quite a lot on exports for Indian business. So what drives Indian business? You know, Indian pharma is known for its manufacturing and formulations R&D. Where there is an active API, which you'd see on the top left part. API is the bulk drugs. Most of you would know that. A sack of paracetamol powder is an API. You know, you need API to create formulations. That's one part of the business, which is not a phenomenally growing, profitable business for us. But formulations, contract research manufacturing, all these utilize our manufacturing and formulations R&D capability. And that is what is driving pharma today. So contract manufacturing, of course, like Harry's company does contract research and R&D. This is contract manufacturing, where companies do cater to quite a lot of multinational companies abroad to research their products as well as to manufacture their products. Coming to formulations, which is the biggest chunk where Indian pharma has now, you can see we are the third largest country in the world by volumes. When I say volumes, for example, number of pills, you know, number of liters of whatever product. So when it comes to volumes, we create the third largest market, third largest formulations in the world. And when you combine it to a value, we are down to 14th because our price per pill, for example, is lower. That's why the value is down at 14th rank, but by volume, we are so high, mainly driven by our R&D and manufacturing capabilities. You can see 1 in every pill in the US is made in India. Can you believe that? That's the strength we are sitting on. But having said that, the industry is also moving towards biosimilars and differentiated generics, which are high value, which are not easy to make. And that's where we see industry's bigger value and future growth will lie. So where will this lead us to? Vision 2030. Keep it in mind. Now we are in 2021. In the next 10 years, pharma industry in India believes from 40 billion now, this is 2018-32. So 2021, I showed you the graph earlier, somewhere around 42 billion. Base case means most probable to happen. In a normal fashion, if we grow, we will reach somewhere around $90 billion by 2030. But the industry has an aspiration of reaching around 120 or 130 billion if some of the things can really happen well. If we can leverage some of the upcoming patent losses, if we can pursue to so-called high-value areas like biosimilars, gene therapies, specialty products, that can drive us. If government-enhanced programs can induce drug access. So these are some of the challenges as well as opportunities what can drive. But you can see below a quote from ICICI Direct Research, which is a investor relations research, which shows that the market is coming back to that 11 to 12% growth, which will lead us to more than 100 billion. That's a fantastic market to be in. So why I want to show you this is, I want to show you the industry where we are in, how India is faring there, and what's in store for the next 10 years, which is going to be your highest productive decade, when you're passing out in the next 2 years or 3 years. So that's what the industry is keeping in store for you when you plan to have the right capability and attitude towards that. Okay, that's good. Takeaway time. So this is what are the big topics, or just what I want you to take away from this first section. Global performance, I told you. We are one of those markets which are driving the global pharma, I told you. Coming to Indian pharma, driven by domestic and export, 50-50. Remember that graph? 50-50 split. Strong manufacturing and formulations, R&D. Who can do that? Nobody like B.Pharm's graduates, right? No other graduates can come up to that. That's your place, building the pharmacy of the world. Vision 2030, 100 billion, magic number. Is it doable? External research guys says it is. We are coming back to that growth segment. Great opportunity in front of you. Okay, good. If you have any questions, comments, put it in the chat. Harry will be happy to look at that. We move to the next section, sales and marketing. Okay, what is unique when it comes to sales and marketing in pharma? Most of you know, but want to keep everyone in the same thing. When we go to Lulu Mall, what do? We see something, we like something. If we have money or a credit card, we just buy it, right? It's as simple as that. It's very straightforward. So what would a company like Unilever or Procter & Gamble or Mitsubishi, whoever, Bata, what do? They communicate mainly to two people: the shopkeeper who should stock my product, and the customer or consumer who should like my product, buy it, and continue to buy it. I'm not saying Unilever doesn't talk to governments or tax people, or they do. But to have Jayan sir, can you please mute your line? So if they want the business to happen, they talk predominantly to two people. Okay, what happens in pharma? Start from a patient point. Patient gets some problem, he gets into a physician. Physician will treat him or her, will advise, but you need a medicine, right? Then he gives a prescription. With the prescription, the pharmacist or the patient goes to a pharmacist. Luckily, the picture of pharmacist looks much better. So the pharmacist will dispense, he will look at the medicine. He might change some medicine sometimes, depending on the country, he might change or substitute something. So there is another, so in the earlier shop floor screen, which I showed you, the decision is taken by just two people, or mostly by one people. The sale decision is by one person or max two people, right? Here, physician prescribes, but pharmacist might change something. So there is a decision point there. Sometimes even there's a hospital involved. There's a hospital pharmacy. He also has got a formulary. So every product that the physician prescribes might not be the hospital pharmacy. So the pharmacist there might also say, no, don't prescribe that. Try to give the product this one, because various reasons. So hospital is another stakeholder. And what is an upcoming new stakeholder now? Insurer. Many people are getting insured in India. When you come to Western markets, this is one of the bigger stakeholders, insurer, or we also call them payer. They are the most powerful stakeholder in the United States and Europe now. So in India, at least, you have all these different ones, and a normal pharma company needs to talk to all these guys, without which they won't be able to hit upon a sale, So that's how unique and how different a normal sale happens between an industry and a pharma. Does the uniqueness stop there? I don't think so. We are also highly regulated. A Lux can do a soap ad with any of the Bollywood stars or whoever. They can put across any kind of claims that the skin will whiten, you will reduce your age, people will ask you which school are you going to, regardless you're 50 plus, you cannot do that in pharma. It's highly regulated, starting from brand names. What kind of promotion you do, what kind of development of the market. So what is market development? You're coming out with a product or a disease area which is rare. If the physicians are not able to diagnose them today, pharma companies go and train these physicians to start identify those indications. So that is what you're calling, you're creating a market, you're developing a market, right? To do that, to engage with stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Physicians, patients, insurance companies, hospitals, wholesalers, all are stakeholders, nurses, pharmacists. You cannot engage with them just like that. Earlier, people used to gift. It was very famous in pharma. Now I heard even in India, it's coming down drastically. In US and Western world, done. No more, not even a single pen you can give to your stakeholders. All those are regulated. And even in R&D, while you do a clinical trial, manufacturing, packaging, pricing, all are regulated to the core. So that's another uniqueness, right? Let's move into the key functions. With all these regulations, you understood what is the industry, where all we want to influence the stakeholders, or how many stakeholders involved. What are the key functions? What do these guys do in sales and marketing? Believe me, before I got into J&J in sales, I thought sales and marketing are almost same. It's the same function, people call differently. That's not the case. Have this in mind, this picture in mind. Marketing mainly does all the pre-work. For example, they create a brand strategy. They create a portfolio strategy. A portfolio is a set of brands. For example, Horlicks has got a portfolio, Horlicks for kids, Horlicks for mom, for dad, for neighbor, there's a different variety of Horlicks. That's a portfolio. The marketing department creates, and once they create, they strengthen. Unfortunately, I'm not able to mute others. I don't know why. Hello, there are some feedback from some of the phones and computers. Can you mute, please? Thank you. So marketing creates a strategy, and sales actually execute it in the strategy out in the market, so that the sale happens, or rather the product is sold. Okay. So gunning through, these are some of the high-level things what marketing would do. They monitor and analyze external environment. They ensure internal readiness. They ensure that salespeople are trained. There is enough investments to do the promotions. Supply is made. The product is getting manufactured. Marketing and branding toolkits. They create the name. They create campaigns. They do training modules. So all that, the strategy plus the toolkit, what all is required. And also like life cycle management, which shows when the product is so much into the market, it matures. And then what you need to do to further enhance its growth. Line extensions are like, you might have seen some brand plus XR, or plus chloride. It's like extending the brand, like Horlicks I mentioned. In my childhood, there was only one Horlicks in a blue label. Now there are like 10 varieties. So that's line extensions. You're expanding the market. New dosage forms, new products. So overall, they create a brand strategy, and if required, they create it into a portfolio strategy. They create the what all kind of campaigns are required, toolkits for sales. Sales, they take it, go to the market. Important, they are the face of the organization. A physician or a pharmacist or a hospital sees the sales rep as a company. For them, GSK is a guy or 3 or 4 guys. Amita, can you please mute your line, Amita? We can hear you. They identify opportunities with customers. They communicate with key brand messages. So in fact, in short, they reach out to the customers. They do what the strategy wants them to do, but they need to be definitely somebody who can do that in live in front of customers and understand customers' opportunities and challenges, and do all that activities to market develop customers, etc. And of course, there is a feedback. You can see on the top, Marketing strategize, sales execute. They are not on silos. They are two departments who work so much in tandem, because unless otherwise, they won't be able to strategize or they won't be able to execute. So now you understood what what marketing and sales are. I'm going very, very high level so that there is no confusion in what I'm talking about. Let me also give you a view into how an organization would look like, okay? If you take a pharmaceutical company, there will be a headquarter, say Mumbai, Chennai, wherever, Hyderabad. There will be a headquarter. Headquarters usually will have marketing and sales heads sitting there. So the marketing team mostly will be on the headquarter. Like a marketing head would have brand number 1 marketing head, brand number 2 marketing head. This is just a very illustrative point. This can be much wider or smaller according to a company's size. Under the brand marketing manager, that's this box. You can call them whatever, but in function they will be a marketing head. Below them there will be a set of brand managers who are mostly the entry point position in marketing teams. Brand managers. Some companies call them product managers, which are both the same. There will be, say, 1 to 4 or 5 people in each marketing team. There may be different marketing teams for different brands, or sometimes it will be different disease area. Some companies don't have a brand marketing head. They may have a anti-hypertensive marketing head. They may have a portfolio of antihypertensives below them. I've also put some gray boxes, which are different commercial departments: strategic planning, business development, business insights, training. They all work in tandem, in line or along with marketing and sales heads, because strategy planning decides about what the next 5 years the company should be doing. Business development does with quite a lot of licensing, mergers and acquisitions, all are commercially driven kind of companies. Business insights does all the number crunching. For example, okay, last year we were having 30% share. This year the competitors are doing this much. So they play with the numbers and give you the insights, give the marketing and the sales teams the insights what we need to work on. Training, very clear, it's training. So where all the other sales team would be very clear. They will be based out of the regional offices. Mostly, for example, Kochi would be having regional offices of many companies. There will be regional sales head. I just put South there, taking an example from Kochi or Bangalore. A regional sales head would report into a national sales head who is sitting in the headquarters. And below this regional sales head, you will have area sales managers. Below them, you will have sales reps. So in district, if you take, there will be roughly around 8 to 10 sales reps in a district for an average size pharmaceutical company. It can vary completely differently according to the products and according to the company size. So now you got an understanding about how the teams are from an organizational point. Marketing team operates at a national level, while sales team operates at a customer front. And of course, the number, if you take, sales team will be much, much, much larger than a marketing team in any company, because marketing is only what you see, like maybe 10 to 50 people, but sales, it goes to thousands for a top 20 pharmaceutical company in India. Going now, takeaways from this, you saw the uniqueness, multiple stakeholders influencing decisions. So that makes sales and marketing more challenging, highly regulated. Again, you cannot say anything to outside in when it comes to promotion. What are the functions? Marketing strategize, sales execute, very clear, but they work so much in tandem, otherwise they cannot do their jobs. And marketing team operate nationally from a national view and also from a futuristic view, because they create everything for tomorrow. While sales team work at the customer front, mostly with a current focus, but of course they also have a future view, because they need to think how I'm going to do in the coming months, how to influence or how to train our customers, for example, for the coming months. That's it. Now I'm moving to the key trends, and then we will look into the career possibilities. Key trends again, just to take a quick time check, 9:50. Yeah, we are going good. We are going good. Key trends, I want to touch upon just 3 areas, very high level. One is digitization, advanced analytics, penetration of e-pharmacies. These are some of the three big commercial trends, sales and marketing trends that's happening in the industry. Let's take one by one pretty fast. Digitization. Earlier, when I joined sales rep in Johnson, how was it? If a representative would go to a physician, talk about their products, ask questions on how they prescribe the products, how they treat particular indication, and then I will see that physician after about a month or so. In that 1 month gap, the physician doesn't hear much from Johnson & Johnson or from me, right? Unless there is a meeting which I set up in between, okay, there's a continued medical education, somebody comes and talk to them, which doesn't happen very often. So it was like very sporadic communication between company and the customers. What digitization has done is they made the communication always on, 24/7. How is that? These are some of the insights. You know this, people are into digital media now, and digital engagement is an opportunity for companies to talk directly to physicians, patients, payers, governments, anyone, 24/7. So what has happened? Face-to-face meetings with sales reps definitely will be there. That's the key. So don't get me wrong. When it happens, digitization, sales rep are going to go away. Definitely no, it cannot work. Mark my words. Sales rep will be there. They are going to be more important because the sales rep is going to decide or rather influence what kind of a virtual engagement and on-demand stuff the physicians would have. What is virtual engagement? Apart from sales rep going and visiting them, there are different channels now on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see there are many channels which pharmaceutical companies use virtually to engage with the customer. They will be having emails, they will be having Twitters, and about continued medical education virtually, virtual webinars like how we do. So that virtual engagements will be there. Sales rep will decide, okay, out of my territory, or rather I have 100 doctors in my list, 20 are required for this particular engagement on webinar. So they decide which customers go for which virtual engagement. That's why I'm saying sales reps' responsibility has only increased. He has become more important by having this digitization. Plus on demand. There will be websites, there are websites which companies are hosting where physicians can go and check out videos or slide decks or training according to their time. So they can demand when they want it and view and understand and take certifications quite a lot. So the bottom line is digitization has enabled companies to continue with their customer communication, and sales and marketing are the people who are influencing this, utilizing this huge revolution of digital and technology. Second one, advanced analytics. Again, on my earlier days in the career, we only had few data. How many prescriptions, what is the sale, how is competition doing, how much we can project for next year. That's all. Now that's changed. And you can see across functions or departments, they use data now. When it comes to sales and marketing, the pink dotted line, there are quite a lot again. We don't look at only sales data. We look at patient insights from what they talk in social media. We go into electronic medical records to understand how a breast cancer patient is treated in the last 5 years. Which product gets introduced first, and when do physicians switch treatments or add-on treatments, all that. What is the effectiveness of a sales campaign? What are the feedback which physicians are telling, no, we cannot prescribe your product because of dum, dum, dum. What are those? Only then marketing can come back with objection handlers or toolkits to address that. To do sales forecasting, now people are using advanced analytics to even push to understand what will be the sales forecast, because not only the investment, they also look into external changes to address forecasting of sales. So quite a lot. So the whole investment decisions today depend on these kind of advanced analytics. Why I'm showing to you, in pharma sales and marketing, this knowledge is very of high demand now. Also with analytic companies outside, they need not be pharma, but there are analytic companies who cater to pharma companies. I'll show you those in one of my later slides. Moving on, what is our third biggest change? E-pharmacies. You can see the slide, increasing penetration. People's behavior is for anything, I take the mobile first, right? Somebody asks a spelling, now people take mobile first. Pronunciation, everything, it's mobile. That consumer behavior, you can see some of the marketing, some of the market insights which I have put across on the left or on the right hand side. E-pharma is growing at around 7 times now. There are already established players. The recent startups are growing rapidly, which shows that there is a huge market demand for that. You know, most of us have started going to Flipkart and Amazon, right? During this COVID time. So that is in fact pushing the use of Vani Krishna. Can you please mute your line? No worries. Thank you. Vani, please mute your line. And also established Apollo. They have already started. Also, the biggies like Amazon and Reliance, they are also getting into. Why I'm showing this is not only for sales and marketing. Many of us in the group will be looking forward to become pharmacists or own pharmacies. This is a trend which you need to keep in mind, because e-pharmacies penetration, at least in the urban setup, can have some impact to the small mom and pop pharmacy stores going forward. Going forward, I think at least for the next 7 to 10 years, there might not be, but that is something which we need to look on in the horizon if you are planning to go in that line. Even for pharma sales and marketing, this is going to be different, because the way you approach a e-commerce is completely different. Okay. Slightly short of time, so we are doing a quick takeaway on what we talked about: the key trends, digitization, keeping the communication always on, advanced analytics. If you can play with numbers, if you're somebody who can derive insights out of numbers, great place to be in. Advanced analytics, increasing e-pharma penetration. Let's keep in mind, because this is something that can have an impact not only for small retail pharmacies in India, especially urban ones. Rural might take more time, but also in pharma sales and marketing, because dealing with e-commerce is completely a different ballgame. Okay, going to the fantastic section, the ones which you were waiting for, the career possibilities. Okay, let me try to paint you this picture. I want to show you what is a normal sales career path when it comes to pharma and non-pharma. So that's going to be there below. So non-pharma means it will be mostly all those companies who support pharmaceutical. Let's start from pharma. Sales and marketing, I'm just showing here the entry points are sales rep or a brand manager that can lead vertically grow to become a sales head and a marketing head, as I shown before, who can in turn become into general management, which is CEOs or president or whatever, you know, who manages P&L, profit and loss, and a huge general national team. Apart from this, there are also other commercial roles, commercial departments, business insights, strategic planning, business development. There also you can get into entry-level managerial assistant manager jobs, move forward to become functional heads, and then go up to general management, no problem. Another thing I want to tell you is, usually people can move across these functions. You can get into one of these, you can move across from sales, you can go to marketing, you can go to strategic planning, you can again go back to marketing. That way, from a commercial point of view, you get to understand a complete view. You know, you can do that. I'll show you. And then, especially for marketing, business insights, all that, an MBA is always preferred, because that gives you a little bit more official view, a structured view into how commercial works, what kind of analysis we need to do, strategic planning. You know, MBA is always preferred there. When it comes to non-pharma, it could be advertising companies, it could be consulting companies, the ones data analytics, which I told you earlier. There also you can get into entry level, move forward. From there, you can come back to pharma as well. There are quite a lot of leaders who come from consulting, advertising, and data analytics back into pharma. You can go the other way as well. I know hundreds of them who have done shifts across all these. But the crux here is in these roles also, it's always an MBA preferred. So how do you take an MBA? After BPharm, can you? Definitely you can, like how Harry has done. But I did it a little bit different. I did, after putting across 6 years in the industry, I went for an MBA. Both are fine. Both are equally good. It's up to how you want to do or how is your comfort level in that. So to just demonstrate what I have done, this is a rough career path of mine. It's not to boast myself, but just I want to give you, to show you what's possible. I joined sales after BPharm in 1997. After spending around 4 years, that is 2 years as a sales rep, and 2 years I became a manager for 2 states. Then I went to, I wanted to do marketing. I joined Dr. Reddy's in 2001. After 2 years there, I felt an MBA is always good. Somehow I got a marketing job without an MBA. There's a different story to that. I'm not going there. But then I realized for me to move forward, it would be good if I have an MBA. I took a break. There was a 1-year MBA that is still in Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. I did that. I came back, and then from 2004 onwards, I was in international marketing. Initially, I was in strategic planning for some time. Then I moved to, I had a consulting bit in between. Then I moved to business insights in GSK. GSK moved into commercial roles also after that. But then I came back to marketing now, back in 2011. But even though I'm showing you the functions which I went through, from 2004 onwards, I was mostly working for international markets, you know. So bottom line here is you can switch through functions, which is, I'm not saying it has to be that way. You can do that. There are hundreds of people who have gone through the same function as well. You can grow like that as well. But more importantly, if you want to have a career, I would suggest to get an MBA, either immediately after sales or in between. You can take 2 years, 3 years experience and then go for an MBA. That's also well accepted. So this is a high-level view what you can do. One of you, like me, have done that. So it's not something just theoretical, it's possible. Now, if you are interested for sales and marketing, how do you understand? That's how we plan, right? Do I want to do sales and marketing in pharma? Let me show you this one. This is the high-level need of some of the skills what you want. Entrepreneurial and commercial mindset, you know? If you can understand, if you can spot opportunities outside, if you see, wow, that looks like a great opportunity to make some money, being very honest here. That's how you show your commercial or entrepreneurial mindset. If you have that little bit, that's great. Active listening. People always think marketing or sales is about talking. No, not at all. It's about listening. You need to listen to your customers. You need to listen to your physicians and understand what. You need to listen to your competitors. Only then you will know what happens outside. Active listening. Analyze and plan forward. You know, if you are part of teams in your school or in your college, you look forward to make something, you plan together, ability to work and motivate a team, and of course, communicate, because at the end of the day, you need to communicate after doing all this. So a flair to communicate in front of people. These are all some of the skills. I'm not saying you should have now. I still don't have active listening. That's what my wife says. But, you know, at least if you have these skills, or if you have the interest to develop these, mark my words, you don't need these skills now. But if you have an attitude to develop some of these skills, I tell you, this is your place. Welcome to sales and marketing. So and then I have also shown you the kind of opportunity it has, the way you can build yourself, and what that industry is out there by 2030, you know. So welcome to the gang. If you are excited about making some of these, you don't need everything. All these skills, I'm not saying none of us have this. At least one of these, if you are excited about building, I consider this is your space. Moving forward, last takeaway of the day, I will cover most of the things what we planned or what we discussed today. So today's gist is we talked about pharma overview, global pharma, 1.5 trillion, sustained performance, which is more important, highly profitable, driven by US and emerging markets. And remember, emerging market has India also as one of the key drivers. Okay, Indian pharma, 42 billion. Vision 2030 is a massive, more than 100 billion. You are going to double in the next 10 years. Phenomenal. And when you reach 80 or 90 or 100 billion, what does it need, the industry? Industry needs only one thing: good people to back up. Without human resources, nobody can grow this, So, which is driven by domestic as well as exports of formulations. And our capability is going to be the most important thing. Pharma sales and marketing, we talked quite a lot. We are unique because there are multiple stakeholders to deal with, highly regulated. So you cannot tell that you will be a younger person after 10 years. You have to prove it clinically, it has to be clinical trial backed, highly regulated for everything. There is also one more point which I didn't show in my presentation because of time as well as a bit of complexity, but it will be good to keep in mind. Branded generics, that's a unique thing for Indian pharma. While US pharma is driven by originator products, for example, say Lipitor, or Lipitor is now generic, but that's the branded drug business in the US and Europe. So originator brands which are patented are the ones driving those Western markets. But in India, the market is driven by branded generics, which are not originator ones, but they are branded. They have their own marketing. But the market is evolving to the newer originator brands because I think post 95, companies in India cannot do branded generics of products which has got a patent. So they can only in-license with other companies, or they can do co-marketing with the multinationals. So it's evolving the business. The companies are also getting more into scientific selling and higher levels of marketing. Okay. Key functions: marketing strategize, sales execute. Marketing teams are at the national level, looking from a national view, while sales act at the customer front at the very ground level, making the sale a reality. Key trends: digitization, always on, advanced analytics, numbers, crunching numbers and analyzing insights are going to be the forefront, rather telling customers which way to go, which way to invest, better decisions, and increasing e-pharmacy penetration, where pharmacy segment can have a huge change in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So we need to ramp up for that. The last one, career possibilities. I talked to you about the key skills which we should focus on. Having a right mindset for commerce or commercial mindset, active listening, very important, not only for sales and marketing, for everything, believe me. Analytical rigor, if you can see something, if you can look out for trends, if you analyze this is how things are going to happen, that's what is analytical rigor. Teamwork, ultimately important for any job, most of the jobs, I would say. I don't know any job where you don't need a teamwork. Communicate, like unless otherwise we can communicate our thoughts and opinions, we won't be valued anywhere. At the same time, I told, if you can have some bent to develop any of these, sky's the limit, believe me. So what do we do? It's easy to tell you about the gist and walk away, but I'm going back to that planning. It's my last slide. I'm going back to that planning thing. When we say planning is important, and I showed you, this is what is pharma sales and marketing. These are the opportunities there. If you want to create a career, these are some of the flags or some of the pointers or some of the skills which you might want to develop more. So what do you need to do next? How should you plan? I intentionally put a black slide, next steps, so that it's the most important slide if I were you, for me. I'm not telling you need to follow this, but try to get some cues from this. I'll be a happy person if one of you takes some things from this and change the approach from tomorrow onwards. Understand, have a high level, I again underline that, have a high level understanding, not very minute or not so much in granularity. of what line of career you want, and keep options. Don't think I'm going to do research for testicular cancer for Caucasians. You don't need that granularity. Keep multiple options at high level. I like to do pharmaceutical R&D. That's fine. I want to do PhD in this one and become a professor. That's fine. I want to go for sales or be marketing and go up the ladder in pharmaceutical corporate, which is fine. So have options, have high level of understanding so that your passion or your dream is kind of set there with a big catchment area. What next? Team up with like-minded folks. You are in a place now where you have quite a lot of people working and reading the same things, and there is a very strong chance you can have like-minded folks around. Team up. At any point in time, 2 or 3 brains are always better than one, right? I don't think it can go wrong anywhere. Team up. Team up with friends, have like-minded folks, have a game plan for you as a team. Plan your probable paths, short and medium term, and execute. So when you plan your probable paths, I'm not telling my career plan will be this way. My probability of going these different paths. Short, medium, don't look at more than 3 years max because you cannot plan. The external environment is changing so big. Let's have a short, medium term plan. All the more important, execute. Your plan will not work unless otherwise we execute. What are those high things, very important things what we need to execute? Follow the industries, follow companies. If you have like 5 companies in your mind, follow them, read about them, understand about the industries. How do you get that? One is, of course, reading, and internet answers you everything. Network with alumni. That's where I'm telling earlier, I talked about LinkedIn. Network, follow some of them, understand what's happening in the industry, be self-aware. Around 2 months ago, I had a session with one of the B schools in India, the top ones. Why they called me was to talk to their students because they already figured out, they did an exercise to understand their strengths. I don't want to call weaknesses, but development areas. And then they were asking me, the 5 students came up. I was allotted to 5 students as a mentor. Students told me, these are supposed to be my strengths and these are my development areas. What do you think? How should I develop? So that's a great thing to work on. You're keeping a mirror in front of you and seeing, being aware what you are and what you need to act upon. Be very clear. That's where your like-minded folks teams should be helping you. You can bounce your ideas. If required, go to alumni as well. At least I know from COPS Global, all of us are super excited to help you if you want to do something like that. Third one, very important. What I remember is one of my friends, Vishwajit, told me, when you just towards the end of your career and life, when you sit back, if you're only thinking about, I studied, I did exams, what a waste of that time, right? You have got umpteen opportunities around in your schools. I'm not saying tomorrow go for election and be a president. If you can, fantastic. But there are many things like that. Elections are one, program committees, there will be many functions happening. Put your neck out. Try to volunteer for things, work with people, work in teams, motivate teams, understand how things are happening, make risk mitigation plans. That's how you enhance your soft skills, apart from just knowing pharmaceutical sciences, which anyway we will do. That's how we pass exams, right? So these are the top 3 things which I feel would be a great start for you if you're not doing. If you're doing it, please continue doing any of these. Will make you a better prepared, according to your plan when you get an interview call, or even when you want to put across a CV. These things will help you a lot to show your value. The last slide, if you are a surfboard, if you want to become a surfboard, be that. Not get onto that 4 legs to become an ironing board. It's on you. Follow your dreams, understand where you want to go, make a plan, and get your act straight. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Harry, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Samish. It was an amazing talk, and I can see that you're really prepared for this. And I also see that there are a lot of questions which have come up, I'll just try to put them in a sequential order so that we can address them, the way that they actually arise. And I think we have roughly about 15 more minutes. We will close this roughly about 8 o'clock India time. A lot of the questions were about MBA. You did address that in your session. For example, you mentioned that it really is immaterial whether you do an MBA immediately after your course or you put in 2 or 3 years of experience and then do an MBA. But looking at the nature of the questions, I have a feeling that not everybody is familiar with what does an MBA actually do.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you can just give a sense of what you learn in an MBA and how does it help you in the career?
Yeah. So that's good. Good to know that we need to be clear on some of the key things what we mentioned here. So in an MBA, of course, there are multiple specialities in MBA. Harry and I, both of us, I understand, we took MBA in marketing. I took marketing and change management. So you can decide which one you want to go. But mostly MBAs are of 2 years. The first year MBA will be almost the same for everyone. The electives usually happens on second year. It can differ school by school. But what they do is I cannot tell you all the subjects what they do now top of my mind, but I can tell you, they give you an understanding into how organizations work, how accounting, or rather how the transactions of money work. What's the kind, there may be subjects on leadership. There may be things on many things theoretical, but I have seen my biggest learnings from MBA was when professors were doing case studies. They take these real cases from the world, in whichever industry it happened. At ISB, I would have done something like easily 100 to 150 cases in 1 year. So you are going through real world case studies in a high pressure environment. Professors make you do things overnight, team up with people. We used to have team meetings at 1 o'clock in the midnight while doing. Why they are doing that is two things. One is you get to know what are the real issues. Second, you are going through that pressure to withstand pressure in a corporate. By that, I'm not giving you that scary feeling. Pressure is there everywhere. Even if you're jobless, you've got a pressure. So don't look at it from a negative point. We need to deliver things so that MBA makes you equipped with those soft skills and hard skills. Hard skills in terms of analyzing data, strategic frameworks, what companies usually do, what are those different levers which you need to look at when you plan something. The negative aspect is all about how you want to work with team, how you understand other person's point of view. Every person comes with different strengths, those kind of things. Harry, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, right. I mean, I'll just probably just exactly the same set of things which you said, but maybe let me just look at it from the perspective of the employer. From a pharma company perspective, if you've just done only your B Pharma, what you have is a theoretical knowledge. But when you get into sales and marketing in a company, the company needs to ensure that if you're hired, you will be able to look at it from a commercial perspective, that you will be able to add to the top line and the bottom line of the company. So unless you have an MBA, the amount of time that they would have to spend to orient you towards that takes a certain amount of time. And plus, if you've already gone through a professional course, they can at least be somewhat reassured that some of these aspects which you need to know when you are entering a sales and marketing career is already taken care of. So that's probably the other aspect that I would add to that.
Yeah, that's good. Great point.
Right. The other question again associated with MBA is there do you wait? So you did an MBA from probably the top 4 institutes in the country. So do you need to wait for a really top and premier institute, or is any MBA, is there a difference between the kind of MBAs which you get?
Definitely yes, because that's why they are ranked in that form. But at the same time, you need to take a balanced view there. What I would suggest is, especially since we are coming from a pharmaceutical background, of course, if you can get into those top 5 or top 10, that is fantastic. Especially there are institutes, what I've heard, does pharmaceutical marketing or pharmaceutical management also in India, which also could be very good when it comes to a pharmaceutical company point of view, because they are like much more focused and their training is more suited for pharmaceuticals. But otherwise, to a question like that, I would say if you can get into premier institutes, that is definitely a sea of a change. To aid that, to help that, is what I suggested. If you can do some work experience before going in, definitely you are valued higher. That's what I've seen. At least in ISB during my time, there was not even a single student with zero experience. Lowest was 2 years, and the highest was, I remember, there was somebody from NASA with 18 years. So that's an outlier, but don't look at that. Otherwise, average was around 4 years experience, and I went with 6. Because schools like to have experienced people doing MBA, since they will bring some perspectives and experience to the whole batch's learning. Do you have a different take, Harry?
No, I agree with you completely on this, Amish. I mean, if you get into one of the premier institutes, definitely take it by all means. Otherwise, get some experience and then join a company and then figure out when you want to do the MBA. That probably would be easier. Right. Moving on, there was another interesting question. You've spent time both in India and abroad. What's the difference that you see in sales and marketing in Indian companies and companies outside India?
Yeah, so I left Indian business in 2004. So it's been some time. I should first of all say I'm not so much aware now how marketing and sales happen in India, but I do keep my connections with my friends. So roughly I can say, but the whole difference is on the regulation part. In the US, it's so much regulated that we cannot even speak to a customer without company being clear, or rather without we being clear that what we are talking to those guys. We cannot have loose talks in terms of regarding the drug. Of course, at a personal level, you can. But when it comes to promotion, when it comes to even talking about the drug, the regulations are so high in Western markets. That in India, it's not so much tighter, even though I don't even know whether there is an act in India to have that. Even if it is there, it's not very tight. People can find loopholes and leeways. It's a lot of relationship building marketing in India. That's not the case here. There will be a relationship, but physician usually looks at the drug and the scientific backup before prescribing. It wasn't that so much earlier, but now, as I mentioned to you earlier, we cannot give anything to a physician or anybody here, not even a pen. Can you believe that? So you cannot do those kind of beyond the scientific marketing or selling. It's all pretty straightforward. If we are giving something to a physician more than $10, we need to report that as companies to the government, and those things are well done here. It's not just a law people don't follow. People have to, and they do. So that way, that's the biggest thing I would say. But otherwise, working with people, the professionalism, it depends which company, which state you're working, it differs a lot. But my take is it's more on the regulations and the way you work. It's more data oriented here.
Right. Thanks a lot, Samish, for that. The next question is an interesting one. It comes from Neetu, who asks, there are very few women in pharma sales and marketing. What are the challenges that women in the workforce face? And is that true, first of all?
Neetu, fantastic question, because let me answer the last one. Is it true, first of all? I would say yes and no, because in India, maybe it is true to some extent. And when I say sales, it will be true across, because sales is a little bit more physically burdensome, where you need to travel every day, you need to drive. If you are in the US, you will easily drive around 100, 150 miles a day, meeting customers. I'm not saying ladies cannot drive, but given that physical exertion, some of the ladies might not be. But in the US, it's changing quite a lot. Let me give you this clear picture. I have worked with around 15 bosses in the last 20 plus years. That's a little bit higher number, but that was how my career was. So I've been around 15 bosses. Out of 15 bosses, I've had good ones and bad ones for sure. I have reported to around 6 lady bosses. Even now I have a lady boss. And I have seen them. Most of them are fantastic. And I have seen them much more awesome in terms of multiple tasking, in terms of taking decisions, in terms of understanding from a people point of view. I've been always pretty much comfortable with all of them. So, and in my company, if you look into Takeda, if you look into Shire, where I came from, if you look into Novo Nordisk, not much, but Novartis, there are so many lady marketeers and lady commercial folks on the top. So I wouldn't say it's not there. It's changing a lot. Sales probably in India it's less, but that also needs to change, I would say. But if you're interested in marketing, you can take a smaller stint in sales and then take an MBA and move on, But in marketing, I would say definitely there are, and I know fantastic people there. So, yeah.
So Neetu, go for it by all means.
Go for it.
Right. Yeah. Moving on to a question, Samish, which is a little bit tangential to the topic. E-pharmacy by giant players will wipe out the local smaller pharmacies. How can the smaller pharmacies survive?
Yeah, disruption in environment or disruption in the industries. It's a rule of the nature, What happened to all the studios where we used to go for photographs, printing photographs, all the the photocopy machines. Do you see STD booths now? What happened to them? So there are things which disrupt. The technological disruptions will change, and some things will have to change. So what do these guys do? If I were them, I would plan ahead. I might diversify. If I'm sure that my money which I'm going to make now, I might not be making in the next 10 years, it's up to me. So there are different ways how people do. People diversify, people change laws, or other people can even change the way they do business. So there is you need to have a bigger answer for that. But bottom line is understand the change, the wave of the change, and act. More than that, I cannot say now, You need to really think about what all they can do.
Right. So I guess, Sony, when you do your session, we can, spend some time on that as well.
People from that can even give you more opportunities, what they can do more, which they are not doing now, which we call either integrating vertically or horizontally or increasing the offerings. Sony has done something like that, I know. So he might be able to see how he has moved on from his earlier model to the current specialty model.
Right. So we'll wait for that.
Yeah.
The next question is actually touching upon one of the slides that you had shown about the various roles within sales and marketing. So the question was about to explain a little bit more about data analytics and, who are the kind of people who get an entry into data analytics and, what is the kind of roles out there?
Yeah. Think about companies like IQVIA, I mentioned it to you, eValueServe, Pharma Analytics. There are quite a lot, Pharmark. There are quite a lot of companies in India who are, these are like just few, there are like hundreds who does data indigene data analytics. What they do is they collect the data from the markets. For example, it may be prescription audit. It may be retail audit from what kind of sales are happening. It might be social media listening. So when we tell them we want to understand what breast cancer folks, I'm just throwing an example. What are the big challenges with breast cancer patients and caregivers? Caregivers are those like parents or kids of those patients. And how do we know what is their real challenges? So companies will have social listening. They go to social media to these particular groups, understand what they do. Similarly, they will look into patient records of breast cancers and then see how physicians are treating them. They will do a focus group with physicians to understand what do patients come and complain to you. Are both of your treatment goals different? So the physician might be looking at reducing the cancer growth. Again, very layman experience, explanation. But the patient might be saying, no, my objective is I can get up and watch TV, which I cannot do now because of pain or tiredness or whatever. So the goals might be differing, the approach might be differing, which will throw quite a lot of opportunities for companies, because they don't believe that we are just selling medicines now. That way you cannot differentiate or show your value. Companies want to do more than medicine. They want to give medicine. They want to do many things. Example, Roche Diabetes Care in India, who makes this AccuCheck diabetes reading machine. They recently tied up with a company called Wealthy Systems or something. They have an app. So what they told the patients are, if you buy an AccuCheck, if you're an AccuCheck user, you get a free membership with Wealthy app, where that app will help you to record your blood sugar levels in a continuous basis. I think it Bluetooth wise, it connects to the AccuCheck. You can take a printout, you can give it to the doctor, and the app will also help you to stick on to your diet, your exercise, all your lifestyle changes. So what Roche wants is not just to sell AccuCheck. They want to sell AccuCheck and to ensure their patients on AccuCheck are well maintained, so that their value, the patient no more values Roche as an AccuCheck maker. They may value them as a diabetes care. They are taking care of me as a whole. So these are all the areas where analytics are helping them. A pharma company might be having an analytics or will have an analytics department, but they won't be able to do all the job. They won't be able to recruit 200 people to do everything. So it's very normal. They outsource these to analytic focused companies like the ones which I mentioned before, which is good for them from money as well as quality point of view. So that's what I wanted to highlight. If you have more questions, maybe we need to take offline.
Right. Yeah, thanks for that, Samish. IQVIA, of course, has got a large presence in India. I think their headquarters in India is in Bangalore. So, I mean, that could be another company that you could all look up as well. I think you've reached, the end. There is one last question which pertains to your experience at Takeda. So I think that would really be interesting. So maybe if you could just, summarize your experience of working in a global company like Takeda. That would be the last question that we can take.
Yeah, working in, I'm not from Takeda. I can tell you, working in MNCs in global roles abroad, most of the companies now, they work from a very, very patient-centric point of view. Nobody looks into just like get the medicine out. No, that's not the thing what we do. We try to understand the value of the medicine. We work quite a lot looking at the future. So the product which I'm working on is still in the pipeline. So the product will come in the next 3 or 4 years. So we kind of paint that whole picture after 3-4 years, what's going to happen, where the product is going to fit in, what's the value of the product, from different angle, how physicians would look at it, how patients will be looking at it, caregivers, payers, government, everything. Because unless otherwise we know this is what the drug does, again, not just in, for example, reducing BP or reducing cholesterol or taking away cancer, but to a larger extent, like what all it can do to families, what it can do to governments in terms of reducing treatment costs, what it can do to the economy by some of the patients going back to work. So it's an overall value, what we like to create and paint. And that's how companies are working now. What more to add is the professionalism also is on a higher side nowadays. I've seen earlier days I've heard that doesn't mean the work pressure won't be there. The pressure to deliver and demonstrate is of course there, because these are all companies looking for results. But the way you work as a team has gone up so high. So when we recruit people, some of the things which we look for, that's where I highlighted these points to you before. Where are they? Yeah. Ability to work in a team. That is so much important now, especially in global companies where you cannot do anything alone. If tomorrow I want to make any change to any of the strategy or plan, I cannot do it alone, not even my boss or boss's boss. we need to work as a cross-functional team. So marketing will work with medical, regulatory, legal, R&D, clinical, all these together and come out with solutions, challenging each other. We fight among ourselves to come out with decisions. So ability to work in a team, keeping them motivated, understanding the common objectives. These are all very important things now to learn. Gone are the days where if you're higher up in the company, you can just call your shots and order people to do things. It doesn't work nowadays. It's not at all. So it's a good question. I'm so happy to answer that as well, because keep that in mind. And I want my son actually to understand the importance of working in a team. Try to be humble every time. Understand other people's perspective, because these are the skills what young professionals need in the coming years.
Thanks a lot, Samish. Folks, that's all that we have time for today. There may be a few other questions which I may not have asked Samish yet, but we will take that up in some of the future sessions. Thanks a lot for listening in. There are feedback link here. Yeah, I'll just mention that. Yeah, so the feedback link is provided. Please do fill it up, share your thoughts about Samish's session, as well as about the future webinars that you would like to hear from us. And once you fill the feedback link, you would also be getting the e-certificate. Okay, now before I pass it back on to the organizers, let me just thank Samish on all your behalf. It was wonderful sitting and talking with Samish, in a forum like this after such a long time. And Samish, I should tell you that, has been rather modest in describing his career journey. He has worked in India, he has worked in Europe, now he's working in the US. He has been on the sales side, he has been on the marketing side. So he's seen all there is to a proper sales and marketing career. But your takeaway is that 25 years back, he was in the same classroom that you are in right now. So this is a kind of option which is available out for you. And across the other webinars that you will be listening to, you will come across several other people who have traversed similar journeys and have now reached positions which are very, very good and positions which you should be aspiring for. So with that, thanks a lot. And I'll just pass it on to Pramod, right, Prashant?
Yeah. Before that, Samish, can you hand over that host?
How should I?
Yeah, just right-click participants.
Yeah, go to participants. Yeah, right-click. To promote, right? To whom should I give?
To Prashant.
I don't see your name.
Yeah, participants.
Yeah, I open participants, but
yeah, first it's me.
Yeah, got it. Post, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Harry. Thanks so much for your nice words. It was a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Samish. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Promote.
Yeah, so respected dignitaries, teachers and delegates. So first of all, I would like to thank the team COPS Global for organizing this wonderful webinar series. We could able to start this event on this auspicious day, that is Teachers' Day. And on this day, we all could hear an excellent talk by Mr. Samish Menon, the Global Market Access Director, Takeda Pharmaceuticals USA. On behalf of everyone here today, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Mr. Samish Menon for such a remarkably outstanding presentation. So your talk on recent trends and career opportunities in pharmaceutical sales and marketing was incredibly informative and interesting to all of us. So thank you, Mr. Samish. Next, I would like to thank Mr. Harry Jose, Associate Vice President and the Global Head of Marketing at Syngene, for chairing this session. So thank you, sir, for your valuable time and excellent coordination during this entire session. So next, I'd like to express my gratitude to Mr. Sijo Isaac, Assistant Professor, CPS, Government Medical College, Kottayam, and Mr. Aju Mohan from Kerala State Drugs and Pharmaceuticals, Alapi, for compiling all queries and questions from our audience from YouTube and the Facebook pages. So last but not least, I would like to thank all our participants for your patience throughout the entire session. So thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Shall we wind up?
Yeah, it's over, right? You're closing, right?
Ranjesh, please.
Sir, so thank you, Pramod. Dear students, COPS Global wishes to hear from you. So please share your feedback, not only about this session, but also about the future, about our future, what all the aspects we should cover in our future webinars. We really wish to hear from you, students. We have experts from almost all the pharma fields. You name it, we have them in our alumnus group of COPS. We are there to support you. Feel free to ask for any support, and we look forward to hear from you again. So we are signing off. Before that, we have Ritika Rajesh again for the national anthem. So shall we raise for the national anthem? Ritika, are you there?
Yes, sir. Hello. Hello,
Okay,
am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Thank you. Carry on.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभाशिष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Samish. Thank you, Dilip sir, and all present here.
Thank you all.
Good night.